Yo, today, good old-fashioned unboxing. You know how you can tell? Because we got camera 1, camera 2, camera 3. That's how you know it's a good old-fashioned unboxing. Otherwise, only got one camera, because no need so many camera, right? Today, exciting because we've got a brand new affordable smartphone in what I think it should be pretty affordable because this is one of those smartphones where I don't know what it's priced at because, you know, they don't want to tell me, even though this has all been NDA'd. But it is an exciting smartphone, and I think it should be pretty affordable. It is the Poco X3 GT. So let's get to it. So I don't know what GT means. Normally if like car terms, it means Grand Tourer. It means a vehicle that can go very far, very comfortably, to eat up miles. But I think this phone, if you throw it, it's not going to go very far. But maybe it's referring to longevity of the battery life because it has quite a big battery, which we will get into a little bit later. So we'll start this with the unboxing. Okay, so this is the Poco X3 GT. So if we were to look at the box, it's black and yellow. Very similar Poco branding. In front here, you'll see 5G connectivity. Can you see that? 5G, yeah. And then yellow at the back, then Poco. And then Poco X3 GT at the side with easy access to the Google apps that you need. Pop the lid. Yellow, again, black and yellow, very similar, very Poco, very Poco. And then there's this thing here, which if you open up, it's the SIM eject tool. There you can see. You've got a case and some paperwork, so pretty standard stuff. Keep in mind, this is not the Malaysian box, so this is what they call a raw unit. I don't know what that means. Maybe it's because it's not cooked yet. This is the smartphone, Poco X3 GT. So, oh yeah, what I was talking about the boxes. The difference is that you might have a couple of things in the Malaysian box that this one doesn't have. One example is the 3.5mm to USB-C dongle, which this unit doesn't have, but Poco Malaysia tells me that, you know, they will have it in the Malaysian version. So don't worry, there are the Poco stickers. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Cables. So it's a USB-C cable. Orange color. Is it orange? Yeah. Something like that. Why isn't it yellow? Why isn't that cable? And you've got a power brick here. 67 watts. Holy moly! That's fast. So this is the Poco X3 GT, and you know, it's quite interesting because as usual, Poco phones and Xiaomi phones, you know, they're known for being like very good value for money. So a lot of specs for very little money. And even though I don't know how much this smartphone will be priced, it is safe to assume that it will be like slightly below or at least on par with its competition. So on the inside, this smartphone features a MediaTek Dimensity 1100 processor, which I think makes this one of the few phones to have such a processor. And for memory, you can get it with 8 gigs of LPDDR4X memory and up to 256 gigs of internal storage. UFS storage, by the way, which is great to see. Up front, it's got a 6.6-inch Full HD Plus dot display with a 120Hz refresh rate. And you know, it looks like a really nice screen. In fact, it's like really vibrant, really punchy. It's got a lot of the kind of things that you'd like from an OLED display, but I don't believe it's actually OLED. Let me check. Yeah, there's still backlight on the black parts, so it's definitely not an OLED screen, but it looks really nice. Like, look at that. From this camera, it doesn't, like, I can't even tell that it's not an OLED screen, and I think that's really, really impressive. Which I think is a bit weird because before this, I was checking out the Reno 6Z, and that had an OLED screen, and that wasn't this punchy and, you know, interesting. Of course, if you prefer like muted colors, then this is not your thing. But actually, it might also be your thing because if you head into the settings, you will see a bunch of controls, and one of which is color scheme. So you see that you've got auto, you've got saturated, you've got standard, and then you've also got color temperature, so you can just mess around and tweak the screen so that it's exactly the way you want it to, and I think that's pretty cool. But you know, right off the bat, auto seems to work really nicely for me. All the colors look great. Viewing angles are also pretty excellent. So you know, no complaints here. The size is nice. The punch hole is pretty small. Yeah, nice screen. On top of that, the display is also protected by Corning's Gorilla Glass Victus, which is actually not super common in like phones that are not flagship smartphones. So it's really nice to see in this device. And as you may notice, there is a side-mounted fingerprint scanner right there. It reminds me a lot of the Redmi Note 10's one, where it's like, you know, the curved sort of like arc fingerprint scanner, so it sort of blends into the body rather than stick out. And I mean, the side-mounted fingerprint scanner is not my favorite, but you know, it works. Like I can't deny that it's super effective. Oh, what's that? Oh, that's a nice sound. Like the phone, like it does like a little vibrate when you close it, and it's like it feels like a latch being shut. So it's like. That's nice. But now I want to come back to performance again. So the Dimensity 1100, I personally haven't used any smartphone with this processor yet, so I didn't know what to expect. But there is one way to find out, and let's try and play a video game. Thankfully, there's Asphalt 9 installed. You know, my favorite game, because you can play without looking at it really. So, ooh. Ooh. There is a separate speaker grill up here, as well as the one down there, which means you do get stereo sound, and it sounds nice. It's like a very full sound. It's not very loud though, but I think it's loud enough. So the settings on the game is everything's cranked up. It's maximum. Oh no, I messed up. Oh! It's smooth, like butter. I know a lot of people are like, ugh, MediaTek, ugh. But you know, as far as performance goes, that was smooth. That was like really good. Plus the screen's really nice, and the 120 Hz refresh rate, even though you still not that many games support it, but you know, just scrolling around with it, it's pretty excellent, like I have to say. It helps the phone feel much snappier, and I don't know if that's all down to the processor or not, but yeah, this is, so far performance seems really, really good. Now back to the GT part, right? Remember how I said it was like for grand touring? I don't know if the Poco version actually means grand tourer, but this smartphone does have a pretty big battery. It is a 5000 milliamp hour cell, and as you saw earlier with the power brick, it supports up to 67 watt fast charging, which is very, very fast. It's like, you know, I would say that's like flagship level already. A lot of mirror smartphones, especially from Xiaomi, they come with like 60 plus watt fast charging, so it's really nice to see. So big battery and fast charging, I have to say, can't really go wrong there. As far as photography goes though, the camera system, you can tell that this was probably the part that was sacrificed on, even though it looks like really like, wow, fancy and high class. Like look at that, oh, it's very smudged, as you can tell. Glossy back, very smudged. The camera bump, although significant, the camera module is only a triple camera setup, and that is a 64 megapixel wide camera. You've got an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera and also a 2 megapixel macro camera. So again, the macro camera is sort of like the filler camera. But you know, you've got the 64 megapixel main and 8 megapixel ultra wide, which is decent. Like this is the kind of camera setup you'll find in most mid-range smartphones these days, and performance wise, it is very similar to that too. Which means that in daylight, photos look pretty nice. They're pretty crisp, and I think the colors are really nice too, which is always good to see. But the moment you put them in like low light, then things start to fall apart. There is a dedicated night mode, but it doesn't really work as well as like a lot of the high-end flagship smartphones do. So as far as low light goes, I still would say that, you know, it's about what you expect from a smartphone, from a mid-range smartphone, but it's definitely not going to compete with the flagships. Up front, you've got a 16 megapixel selfie shooter in a tiny little punch hole in the middle of the screen, which I don't know how I feel about. I don't know if I like it in the middle or the side. I think right now, I like it in the middle more, but you know, either way is fine. So the one thing I haven't touched on yet is actually the build quality and like, you know, the choice of materials that Poco is used for this smartphone. And that's because it's not like super stand out, and that's both a good thing and a bad thing, I guess. If it was really bad, it would be the first thing I pointed out. If it was really good, it will also be the first thing I pointed out. But this feels like it belongs, you know. It's like, okay, this is appropriate for this smartphone. So you've got a glossy back with a matte frame. So I don't know if the frame is metal or not. I can't really tell these days because they're doing a pretty good job. Like a really nice plastic frame can feel metallic, but you know, build quality feels pretty good. For a 5000 mAh smartphone with a 6.6 inch screen, it's also not too heavy, which is a good thing, I guess. It's a good amount of weight. But one thing that I'm noticing is that the back is like a real big fingerprint magnet, but also that there is like a gradient effect. Can you see how there's there are like specks, like it's like almost like what do you call that thing? Glitter. Yes, glitter. So it's almost like glitter at the bottom, and well, the top doesn't have that. So it's like, I guess it's sort of like a snow globe where you want to shake it and make the thing sort of move about, but it doesn't move about. So yeah, if you look at it like that, right, it looks like a pretty premium smartphone, and I mean, that's not a bad thing at all. So yeah, good job there. Obviously, it charges via USB-C at the bottom, as you can see, and there is of course no headphone jack because 2021. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say right now for the Poco X3 GT. I think that if they price this right, it will be, you know, a home run. I think a lot of people will like this, especially people who are fans of Poco, because performance seems really good. It looks like they sacrificed in roughly the right place. So yeah, I think overall, there's not really much to complain about. I guess we'll just have to see how much it's priced. Though I have a sneaky suspicion that it will be very similar to the previous phone that I checked out, which is the Reno 6Z from Oppo. I think they will be priced pretty similarly, though, you know, again, I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. But I have to say, if it's priced really similarly or exactly the same, then Oppo, I'm sorry, but nobody's gonna buy that smartphone because this should be the phone that you're getting. You're getting much better performance with the Dimensity 1100. You're also getting a bigger battery, 5000 mAh, and also faster charging. The camera is pretty much the same. It's very comparable. So at least, you know, even blows there. The screen, I would say, is also an upgrade, even though this isn't an OLED panel. The 120 Hz is really nice, and I think a really nice IPS panel goes a long way. I would have 100% no issue with using this screen over like an OLED screen, especially in daylight. Maybe if it's like pitch black, the OLED screen would be nicer because, you know, the black pixels turn off. But, you know, it's not very healthy to use your smartphone in the dark, I guess. But yeah, I'd be happy with this screen. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. What do you think of the Poco X3 GT? If, by the way, by the time this video comes out, if there's like a price already, I will leave them in the description or a pinned comment. So make sure you check that first before you complain. The price is already you still don't know. The thing is, we shoot this like days or sometimes weeks before it launches, and nobody tells us the price. So yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think of the Poco X3 GT? Let me know them in the comment section below. And that's it for this video. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can like us on Facebook, but our home on the internet will be at soyjinshao.com. And yeah, that's it, I guess. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.